You stand by your kitchen window, coffee mug warming your hands, watching the first light filter through the garden. Then, a sudden flash of iridescent emerald interrupts the stillness. A tiny creature hovers before a single blossom, its wings a blur against the morning mist. You might wonder why hummingbirds come back to the same flower with such predictable accuracy every single morning. It looks like simple habit or a fortunate coincidence. The bird drinks, darts away, and leaves the garden empty once more. Yet this brief moment is not random. It is a calculated appointment. The small bird outside your window is operating on a schedule so precise it rivals our finest human timepieces. Beneath that frantic exterior lies a mind capable of measuring the invisible rhythms of the natural world. A hidden map guides every flight.
It is easy to look at a creature that weighs less than a nickel and assume its life is governed purely by frantic survival instincts. We see them darting chaotically from petal to petal, driven by a metabolism that demands constant fuel. You might believe they simply fly until they stumble upon nectar by chance. This view treats the bird as a simple machine, reacting only to what is directly in front of its eyes. But this assumption misses the profound intelligence at work in your yard. The hummingbird does not have the luxury of guessing. Searching at random would expend more calories than their tiny bodies could ever recover. They live on a knife edge of survival, where a few wasted flights could mean starvation before dusk. What if their survival relies on a sophisticated mental clock?
To understand how they navigate this peril, we must look at the plants themselves. Flowers do not produce nectar constantly. They secrete it in precise intervals throughout the day, refilling their tiny reservoirs like clockwork. A study from the University of Newcastle, published in 2010, revealed that hummingbirds track these refill rates with astonishing accuracy. Researchers discovered that the birds do not just remember where the rich flowers are located.
They remember exactly when they last visited them. If a flower takes 45 minutes to replenish its sugars, the hummingbird will not return at 40 minutes. It waits until the optimal moment to ensure a full meal. This ability transforms your garden from a simple collection of plants into a highly coordinated timeline.
This behavioral strategy is known as a traplining route. The hummingbird maps its territory, creating a private loop of specific plants that it visits in a fixed, repeating order. You see them appear at the exact same hour each afternoon because they are walking an invisible path through the air. By moving from blossom to blossom in a strict sequence, they allow the first flowers time to refill while they harvest the rest. It is a highly efficient harvesting system that prevents them from wasting energy on empty blooms. This requires more than simple instinct. It demands an advanced form of cognitive processing that science once believed was exclusive to humans. The bird is not just reacting to hunger, it is planning its future. This internal map spans across entire valleys and thousands of individual plants. The cognitive machinery required for this task is immense. In proportion to its body size, a hummingbird's brain is larger than that of any other bird group. A significant portion of this mental space is dedicated to the hippocampus, the area responsible for spatial learning and complex memory. In a study published in the journal Current Biology in 2006, researchers monitored rufous hummingbirds during their breeding season. They found that these birds possess a true episodic-like memory. They recall the specific identity of a flower, its geographical location, and the elapsed time since their last visit. They can hold dozens of these distinct timers in their heads simultaneously, adjusting their flight paths based on which blossoms are currently ripe for harvest. This memory system becomes even more critical when we consider the competitive nature of the backyard. Your yard is not a peaceful sanctuary, it is a contested territory. Other birds, insects, and rival hummingbirds are constantly searching for the same sweet fuel. If a hummingbird arrives too late, a competitor may have stripped the flower clean. If it arrives too early, it expends precious energy for a fraction of a drop. The bird must constantly update its internal spreadsheet based on real-world disruptions. When a rival drains a flower out of turn, the resident bird actually resets its internal timer for that specific bloom. This flexibility demonstrates that the bird is not just following a rigid, unthinking routine. It is actively problem-solving in real time. Research from the University of St. Andrews, published in 2012, showed that hummingbirds can learn to alter their visitation intervals based on changing environmental factors.
If a sudden heat wave causes flowers to dry out faster, or if a rainstorm dilutes the nectar, the birds adapt their schedule within hours. They possess a mathematical understanding of their environment that allows them to calculate the changing value of their territory. Every dip of their beak is an entry in a living ledger of your garden's resources.
This profound relationship with time and space challenges our traditional understanding of avian intelligence. We often measure memory by our own human standards, looking for language or tool use.
Yet the hummingbird displays a mastery of temporal awareness that few humans could replicate without digital calendars and maps. They perceive the passing of minutes through the biological shifting of their own internal chemistry. This connection binds them to the landscape in a way that is difficult for us to fully comprehend. They do not just live in your yard. They are intimately synced with its biological pulse, moving in perfect harmony with the opening and closing of life around them.
This intelligence carries massive implications for the greater natural world. The survival of many wild plant species depends entirely on this precise mental clockwork. Because the hummingbird remembers the route so perfectly, it ensures efficient pollination for the flowers along its path. A study published in the journal Ecology in 2018 highlighted how this mutual dependency shapes entire ecosystems. The plants have evolved to match the hummingbird's memory capacity, producing nectar at rates that maximize the bird's visits. It is a beautiful, silent dialogue between flora and fauna, written in the language of minutes and microliters. The tiny traveler outside your window is keeping the local ecosystem alive through sheer mental discipline. Now, look out at your garden once again. The morning light has shifted, and the shadows have grown shorter along the fence line. There is the single flower swaying gently in the breeze, looking completely unchanged to human eyes. But you know that inside its petals, a silent countdown is taking place. The nectar is rising drop by drop, filling a microscopic cup. And somewhere nearby, perched on a hidden twig, a tiny bird is waiting. It is not resting idly. It is measuring the silence, tracking the minutes, and preparing for its next scheduled appointment. The chaos of its flight is replaced by the profound order of its mind. This precise schedule does not just last for a single day or a single season. When the autumn chills arrive, these birds will depart on a perilous journey spanning oceans and continents. Yet when the spring sun warms your yard next year, the very same individual will often return to the exact same square foot of space. A study by the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology in 2021 confirmed that migratory hummingbirds retain these specific spatial maps across years of absence. They remember your window, your feeder, and your flowers. They recognize the contours of your home because it is a permanent anchor in their vast geography. When you watch them return, you are witnessing an ancient bond renewed by flawless recollection. The tiny visitor is a reminder that the wild world is filled with deep intention and complex thought, hidden just beyond our casual gaze. If you want to discover how other backyard visitors map their world and recognize the humans within it, you should look into the communication networks of our local songbirds. They are watching us just as closely as we watch them. Click on the next video to explore how the birds outside your window share secrets across the neighborhood and discover what they might be saying about you.